Last throw of the dice for the struggling South Sydney Rabbitohs as they confront the Newcastle Knights. Here on Nine's Wide World of Sports.
Welcome now to Marathon Stadium, where a good crowd is in to see this most important clash between the South Sydney Rabbitohs, clinging on to a faint hope of making the final 8 in 1999 as they take on the home side Newcastle, keeping in mind they've played them 9 times at Marathon and only one here on the one occasion. South Sydney humbled last weekend. Can they get back into the winner's circle today? That's the team: Wing, Lumans, Brasher, Hookie, Caruana, O'Neill, Trindle, Richards, Smith, Nicol, Carroll, Garlick, Parsons, and of course coached by Craig Coleman, with Rodwell, Iro, Rubin and Sloss on the interchange bench.
And early this season, South's coach Craig Coleman said that man there, Darryl Trindle, was the best halfback in the world. Well, today he is up against undoubtedly that, Andrew Johns. His third game back from a lengthy suspension. Trindle, a little bit rusty the last fortnight. South will need him to be at his very best this afternoon to enhance their prospects.
They haven't won since beating Balmain. That was 4 matches back. The Rabbitohs have gone down consecutively to St George, Auckland and Brisbane. And now the Knights. A very, very important game for them. One cannot stress enough the importance of this game to Newcastle. They're currently number 8 on the table. And they are the ones that are most in danger, I suppose, of being grabbed and put out of the 8 by Canberra, most likely. O'Davis, Moody, Craigie, Hughes, McDougall, the Johns brothers, Peden, Rudder, Fletcher, O'Brien, Badeiras, Butterfield, and Warren Ryan, the coach, with Grief, Lomax, Simpson and Rahihi on the bench.
And whilst a lot of the attention is given to Matthew Johns' younger brother Andrew, Matthew Johns is nearly as good a play, you know. And with Andrew still sporting this groin injury, it's up to Matty today to take over some of the reins that normally Andrew would have, and with his short kicking game and his running and passing game, really control the Knights around the rucks.
And I suppose, Steve Roach, that old adage applies to South Sydney: while there's life, there's hope.
Yeah, certainly will. As you already said early in the game, Ray, in the commentary, it's very important for them to win today, and it's equally important for Newcastle to stay in touch with that top 8 too. Talking to Craig Coleman, he's put it on his senior players to aim up. He hasn't been impressed the last couple of weeks. 18 degrees, a moderate nor'easter. The Rabbitohs have won the toss and are running with the breeze.
Referee today is Sean Hampstead, and the video referee is Doug Winton. So Newcastle from right to left, knowing that they've got a very tough run home to the end of the season, and it's Carroll on the first kick return for South Sydney. Penalty immediately from the whistle of Sean Hampstead against the Newcastle defenders. Fletcher was one of them and the other was Clinton O'Brien. Just holding him down too long, particularly Fletcher. And South Sydney finding the line with the use of the first penalty coming from the first tackle of the game. And again, it's Carroll. And players go left, right and centre. Garlick at acting half. This is Parsons, who in a beaten side, or should I say a humbled side last weekend, he was quite good. Now O'Neill running off a pass from Trindle. Out to Wing. Craig Wing is able to unload. Gets the pass away for Caruana, and Caruana it is that is brought down about 35 metres out from the Newcastle line. First blood would be handy for South Sydney. James Smith is the player tackled in the centre of the park. He's 30 metres out from the line, and now it's with Trindle. Trindle across for O'Neill. O'Neill working away from that eastern touch line, and players responding by coming in, but nothing came of it. Now with Trindle, steps. He beats the would-be tackle of Jason Moody. There's a charge down, and it comes down for Craigie for Newcastle. And the Knights will bring it away with their first touch of the football to the 30-metre line, with O'Davis combining, and the ball across to Hughes, and now on to McDougall on the left wing, and he's pulled down right on the halfway line.
And a very good counter-attack there from Newcastle. Robbie O'Davis took the ball forward, saw that there was some space out to the left-hand side, and they finally got the ball out to Adam McDougall, who picked up, 10 or 15 metres carrying those 3 defenders, and then got his side a penalty.
Well, while that was happening, Newcastle were forced to make a replacement. Troy Fletcher limping from the field over towards the bench. So the penalties level, the match in its infancy as Butterfield, playing his 201st first-grade game for the Knights in this game today. And now it's Matthew Johns turning it back in for Bill Peden, and Peden will play the ball. 15 out from the line, and they come to the left to the western side. Andrew Johns will score. Andrew Johns is under the black dot. South Sydney stood off him, watched him, and then the brilliance of Andrew Johns was under the bar. Newcastle 4, South Sydney no score in the early minutes of the game.
And the great players in this game, they make the difficult look easy. Mark Carroll did not come up in the line there. That left a little gap. And Andrew Johns, he just put the foot down, took the defence on, the left foot step. Carroll arrived too late. Garlick was clutching it mid-air. Parsons tried to stop the half-back from scoring. But we talked about the importance of South Sydney getting a good start. The same as applied to the home team, and that's what they've done.
That's awful defence there from South Sydney. You know, one place where your defence has got to be rock solid is in your 10-metre zone, and that was just tragic.
So Andrew converts his own try, the highest point scorer in Knights history. That is 925 points for him. A disappointed Craig Coleman. A look at the try again, Steve Roach.
Yeah, quite simply, if you offer Andrew Johns any space in the middle of the ruck, don't come at him, only go at him one out, he's going to score tries every time because he will take on the line. Troy Fletcher has got a knee problem at the moment. He's in with the doctors having it looked at.
So an ominous start, depending on which way you look at it, for South Sydney. Jason Moody, who we're told today has signed a contract with Parramatta as from next year. He plays the ball inside the 20-metre line, and Craigie it is that brings it away. Carroll going in over the top. And there's Fletcher about to go back into the game, it would appear, so he's quite okay.
And Ray, just back on Jason Moody, Newcastle trying to take away a few little roles that Andrew Johns plays. Jason Moody actually started the game. He took the kick-off. And that's normally a job that would have fallen to the Newcastle halfback, who's now got the football and finds his brother in support on the outside.
So the three Wizards all combining there. Andrew to Matthew to Robbie O'Davis. Beautiful to watch when they're in full cry. And there's a chance we might see that today as Andrew puts a big kick down the ground. There's a light breeze blowing, and it's with South Sydney in the first half. Craig Wing on his own 20-metre line. This is Lumens, the winger, number 2. Matty Parsons tried desperately to bring Andrew Johns down, but Johns is just so strong, and a couple of metres from the line he was going to drag anybody over the line. Here's Carroll now again, succumbing to the tackle of Lomax in 15 and Andrew Johns in 7, of course. Ball across now, finding Jason Nichol, who didn't play in that match last Sunday. This is the last coming up for the red and greens, and a charge down from Newcastle is quite legitimate. Hughes it was that picked it up and scooped it away back on the inside. Very good work by Danny Badeiros in the first place. Now Matthew Johns. Look at that pass. Beautifully taken by Bill Peden, and Peden is tackled on the South Sydney 20-metre line. One gets the impression this very acceptable crowd is going to get some high entertainment here today. Lomax, 15 out from the line, the centre of the park. O'Brien it is. Everybody's got to step up to the plate now. Hughes for Matthew Johns. Puts a grubber in. O'Davis will score. There's try number 2. Beautiful stuff. And as I said, the Wizards are at play today. And when that is the case, you get high rugby league entertainment. But this is ominous.
It's
from
great,
a South Sydney point of view.
Great stuff from Newcastle. The charge down. The centres combining there, and then you just see they take advantage of the offload from Clinton O'Brien. Just have a look at Matthew Johns. Look on his outside. He frees it there. You can see that he's just had a look to see where his support players are. That's Andrew Johns, but he sees Robbie O'Davis out wide, and he sees the space in behind here. Fleeting moment, just drops it through. And Robbie O'Davis, well, he goes through untouched. Clinton O'Brien, I thought, was very good against Brisbane last week, and that's one of the reasons that he's important to this team, the second phase that he opens up. And
I suppose it all dates back, Paul, to Danny Badeiros, actually, his involvement in charging it down, and the ball coming down for Mark Hughes. Look at this kick.
Oh, beautiful start there from Matthew Johns and Rabbitohs. Well, easy pickings for him, but yeah, I mean, Daryl Trindle, too long to kick the football. It really cut down his time, and he'll have to either stand back further, or that's a second charge down actually in the first 5 minutes.
Andrew Johns, 12 in from touch, 20 metres out from the eastern side, and this one he's got coming around beautifully. A further 2 points to his total. Newcastle comfortable and looking classical after 8 minutes, leading 12 points to nil. Back to halfway. And he's put it out on the fall. So the errors continue for South Sydney. A terrible start for them.
That didn't just go out on the full. That landed about 7 or 8 metres over the sideline.
So Andrew Johns finding the line with that kick that went... That was the kick-off, actually, that went out on the full, and as Peter said, it almost landed up at Charleston. Now Butterfield. Buderis. O'Brien. He's already shown that he can stand and offload. You've got to shut the ball down, put him down if you can. Rudder runs at the gap. And that's where they are, running towards the Ganimon Hill end of the ground. Matthew again, stepping off the right foot, putting it back onto Rudder. And again, South Sydney under pressure and looking vulnerable. As Matthew Johns scoops a pass back for Buderis. Buderis to Rudder. Rudder's over the line and got it down, base over apex. Is it Billy Peden or Rudder?
Yeah, it's Billy Peden, Ray. A lock forward. He's one of the unsung heroes. We sing his praises fairly regularly during our telecasts, and the referee at Hampstead has gone to the video replay to see whether Billy Peden, number 13, gets this ball down. Jason Nichols in attendance. That's fine. That's the third in what, 10 minutes.
Look for the green, Newcastle, look for the green.
Doug Winton, video referee, seeing what you have seen at home. And 16-0 in favour of Newcastle.
Well, Souths have paid the ultimate price for kicking out on the full. 4 tackles later, it's the Knights attacking under the sticks, and Billy Peden just put the head down. It all started with some beautiful work there from Matthew Johns. And it's just a simple run to the line. Good work once again, linking work from Buderis. And South's defence once again couldn't hold on.
Conversion again from Andrew Johns. He's had a simple day so far. 18 points to nil with the restart again for Souths. This is just embarrassing. 18 points to nil, and we've just gone past the 10-minute marker. Matthew Johns prominent in 2 tries, Andrew in the other, as Newcastle open up with all guns blazing. 3 converted tries unanswered as the Knights bring it away from the 30-metre line. Rudder's pass finding Craigie. Craigie running over the top of Tim Brasher and is put down eventually on that halfway line. Rubin has gone on. Schloss has gone on as coach Craig Coleman puts somebody out there that can maybe stem the tide. As Buderis puts his kick down, it's gone straight to Craig Wing. And Wing comes away off his 10-metre line, runs away from Andrew Johns and runs into Tony Butterfield. Well, 71% of time in possession is with the Newcastle side. That doesn't surprise anybody.
No, it's been all one-way traffic in that area. I don't like the second-guess coaches, but I must admit I would much prefer to see Tim Brasher at fullback. I think one of his great attributes, he is the most experienced player in their team, is he's backing up, and that's just nullified to a certain degree being out wide in the centres as Parsons gets a great ball away. Finds support in Schloss.
Now from Hookie, it's gone to Caruana. Caruana striding into an open space that ends about 25 metres out from the Newcastle line. As it comes away from Jeremy Schloss to Julian O'Neill to the right boot. The chase is on. Craig Wing is coming down on top of McDougall, who did well. Good take by Adam McDougall.
Yeah, wonderful stuff there from the big Newcastle winger. Wasn't a bad kick from Julian O'Neill, and the Chasers just couldn't get there in time. They go wide from the tap.
Peden out to the 30-metre line. Davis is the acting half. Just flicked the pass up onto Adam McDougall, who made 10 metres out to the 40-metre line. A scoreboard that shows the Knights 18, South Sydney 0, after almost 13 minutes of time gone. Danny Badiris now, way to the right of the ground for O'Brien, who's been quite damaging. Fletcher's heading back to the bench again. He's got a problem, which he suffered in the first minute of the game. Craigie now succumbing to the South Sydney defence. They're unable to put him down. He's just inside the 40-metre line, the Rabbitohs end of the park. And Andrew Johns puts a high kick in the air. Craig Wing is going back. The uprights, they become a factor. Wing is able to beat them all in the end goal. And then he strides out beyond the 20-metre line, beats a shoulder charge before eventually being wrapped up and put away by Butterfield. Reuben. Well, this ball was swirling around. The uprights, as I said, came into the equation, and then the Newcastle chase, if anything, was over-enthusiastic. And a beautiful run by Craig Wing. Play a couple of tackles later now is down with Mark Carroll near the halfway line. Schloss away for Trindle to give on. And James Smith out very wide is tackled almost on the eastern touchline. Play over on that scoreboard side of the game. Trindle puts a kick in, and that should... No, it doesn't. It's found Robbie O'Davis. And O'Davis, keen to bring it back, comes to Reuben. Goes straight through Reuben, comes to the next line. And is pulled down by Spud Carroll just inside the Knights' 30-metre line. Now McDougall. O'Brien now. So tries already on the board for Andrew Johns, for Robbie O'Davis and for Bill Peden. And a penalty against South, trying to slow the ball down. Yeah, good stuff there from Clinton O'Brien. He's been the star in the first 15 minutes for Newcastle. He's a very handy player. He earned that one, looking for a quick play of the ball. He's got a good second phase play in him, and Newcastle are thriving with him hitting the ball up. Glenn Grief on in jumper number 14. Now Butterfield takes on the big men. Carroll comes out second best as a result of it, but they get the football through Trindle. Richards now.
There's been a reshuffle in the South's lineup. See, Brett Rodwell has come into the team. He's in the centres. Hookie's gone to the wing. And Chris Caruana, I'm sorry, he will move into the forward pack.
Tony Iro is also out there now for South Sydney, as is the 14, Brett Rodwell, as Peter just pointed out. And now it's Ian Reuben's turn. Did I read a story this week with him contemplating a shift over to rugby union? Caruana then, an offload for Trindle, who throws a pass. His vision was blocked. The ball eventually kept on the boot over there by Lumans, and O'Davis has to throw himself in front of the oncoming South Sydney player, and then takes his time playing the ball to allow a dummy half to get back. Craigie this time, put down just outside the 10-metre line. That's out in front of his own uprights.
Pretty good work there from Julian O'Neill. He turned an awful pass into a dangerous situation, realised he couldn't pick it up, so kicked the football. And that put some pressure on both Moody and O'Davis, who did a good job to clean up.
McDougall working on the opposite side of the ground. That's with the replay there, and O'Davis had to cover ground quickly, and then he had to throw himself in front of the flying feet of Lumen. Now Hughes. Johns. (18-0), 16 minutes gone.
Just keep yourself straight, South. Keep yourself straight, South. Right, Knight, South, you got the feed. Stand there, fellas. Stand there. Break.
Talking with players.
Fellas, hold.
Making the transfer back to rugby. He's also one of them, Craig Wing, or there is discussion about it anyway. That pass looked a bit dubious, didn't it, from Richards back in the on the inside for Iro. Now for Parsons, and Lomax and Peden come up with Grief to put him away on the halfway line. Caruana using the short side. Richards able to unload. Parsons couldn't get to it. The ball on the ground, and it's with Lomax. O'Davis now. Game still very much in its early stages. It's to be hoped that South Sydney doesn't press the panic button and think that they've got to score a try off every play. It's not beyond the realms of possibility of coming back, putting themselves firmly and competitively in the game.
6 again to the Knights. Tony Butterfield's attempted offload was touched by South. Andrew Johns goes wide to Robbie O'Davis. Brings
Trouble.
Moody on the inside.
Moody then pulled down by the big prop forward Matt Parsons, from O'Davis for Andrew Johns, and then for Matthew Johns, and Matthew puts a kick in. Coming down the ground is Peden to make the tackle.
Mid-air tackle.
Yeah, good decision there from Sean Hampstead. You can hear him saying a mid-air tackle. You are not allowed to tackle a player who has left the ground to catch the football. I'm surprised that Matthew Johns kicked on the second, but that is a perfect illustration of what is now illegal in the game of rugby league. Billy Peden taking Hookie both feet off the ground.
They needed that, didn't they, South? They've already got plenty of players out there with hands on hips doing it pretty hard. And so far, with their mistake rate, we haven't seen them down in Newcastle's attacking zone, so we don't know what they're capable of today.
Smith. Nahihi is on, and Butterfield is off for his first break in the game. Matt Parsons towering above the defenders as O'Neill unloads. Away now for Nicol, and Nicol pulled down just inside his own 30-metre line. Quick play the ball, and Hookie is away. Turns it back inside for Caruana to go back to the centre of the ground, and then Trindle, Parsons, O'Neill. And O'Neill is out at the 40-metre line. That's where he is pulled down. Brasher passing away for Wayne Richards. With a bit more urgency about getting that kick away that time. Memories of the charge down still fresh in his mind, and O'Davis it is that's wrapped up. Back there to send Jason Moody back to the defence. That's the 20-metre line, Newcastle's end of the ground. Glenn Grief trying to fend his way clear of a couple of tackles. One of them was Brett Rodwell, the other was Darryl Trindle, who's a bit groggy as he gets up, and here's Rudder making a very good run. He's nearly to the halfway line. Matthew Johns was, then Craigie, now Robbie O'Davis. O'Davis has found some space. They kept putting the ball through the hands, the outnumbered South, and eventually South closing the gap. Matthew Johns, the pass is forward to his brother Andrew, and referee Hampstead has got a call from the touch judge.
Yeah, seems like a fair decision, that one. Always looking, aren't they? Always sniffing out a gap, the Johns boys. They found one down that right-hand side there then, and Robbie O, what a game he's having in both attack and defence.
Parsons. Wayne Richards again. It's a penalty going to South. And it's for raking the ball out in a two-man tackle. Tim Brasher played his part here in indicating to the touch judge, more so than the referee, what had happened.
Yes, Andrew Johns was the culprit. On a former teammate, actually, Wayne Richards, of course. Here at Newcastle, the South City fine touch 35 out, and this has been the best attacking chance they've had in this game. It's taken them 19 minutes to get there. That's Brasher taking it forward. Does not get enough touches in the centres for mine.
9 from 12, the completions for Newcastle. South Sydney on a more limited ration have completed 7 from 9. Trindle there. Through the hands for O'Neill, who dummies a couple of times before Rodwell is tackled. Now it is Sloss. Now, have they been inside the 20-metre line with the ball in their hands before in the match? O'Neill away for Smith, and then he pops it up for Craig Wing, and Wing is put down by the Newcastle defence. They have a very important engagement next Friday, Newcastle, as the kick goes across the ground from Trindle. And McDougall again, very safe under pressure. It'll come out to the 20-metre line for the restart.
Number 5,
It is 18-0 Newcastle over South Sydney at the 22nd minute. The tap. Simpson is on now for Newcastle. Getting a bit of game time, Steve Simpson. This is Rudder. Nickel in the number 11 shirt for the Rabbits. Rodwell in 14. Matthew Johns works now with Bill Peden. Peden to Lomax. Lomax to O'Davis. O'Davis forever looking for a gap.
And I think that Matthew Johns throws the football more to Bill Peden than any other player during a game for Newcastle. Just listen to the amount of times he turns the ball back inside. The last now against the Knights. And Andrew Johns is quite prepared to find touch a metre or two out. Put a bit of a knock around the face in the last set of 6 at the other end of the field. And Julian O'Neill also gingerly back into position not so long ago. You can see the elbow accidentally from Jeremy Schloss just take him on the nose. There you can see the anguish.
That's a great game, rugby league.
Right, nice South got the free.
That match next Friday, incidentally, is between Newcastle and St George Illawarra. They have their own problems, similar to Newcastle, so it's really going to take on almost sudden death proportions. The Dragons versus the Knights next Friday in Friday Night Football. Steve Roach sideline.
Yeah, I know South hasn't been down that end that many times, but Julian O'Neill, he's got to run the football. He's an experienced player. You can't just go around catching and passing all day. Have a look at their opposition. They run the ball at the line, the two Johns boys.
Here's Reuben rolling it up towards the halfway line for the Rabbitohs. For Garlick now to go down the short side and away from Trimble for Brasher. Brasher gives it to Lumans, who comes in nicely. Now with O'Neill. Pulled down by Matthew Johns. This is Nickel. This is the last tackle now for South Sydney. For Trindle to go to the air, over to the left of the ground. Brasher's coming down fast. Moody's got an eye on it, but it bounced over the dead ball line. So back out to the 20-metre line for the restart. A look of dismay on the face of Darryl Trindle.
Well, so far, not one clean break made through the Newcastle defence. Souths, they're moving the ball around from side to side, but not too much go forward at this stage.
Possession statistic starting to level up after Newcastle enjoyed something like 75% of possession as they raced this scoreboard out to 18 points to 0 after 10 minutes of play. Now Simpson running off a pass from Matthew Johns. That's where they are, just outside the South Sydney 40-metre line, as Matthew angles between the hooker Garlick and Trindle. They close the gap effectively. And then Rudder across for Andrew Johns, who puts a kick straight down to the fullback Craig Wing, who comes away from the 10-metre line, heads out to the 20 before meeting the defence. Lee Hookey. James Smith over on the bench with nasty gash there to that bottom lip. Caruana now. Down the blind side for Tony Aro, but there's not a lot of personnel there in red and green shirts. They're outnumbered 3-2 by the Newcastle defencemen. Now with Carroll. Carroll taken underneath by Fletcher, who's had an on and off game. He's been out there, back for treatment, on and off again. As O'Neill puts a kick down the ground, in behind the Newcastle three-quarters, it finds the line. The play will resume about 25 metres out from the Newcastle line with a scrum, with the advantage going to Newcastle. This was the kick. I had my doubts about these men on the outside of the kick, whether they in fact were in front of the kick or it didn't matter eventually. Warren Ryan, the coach of Newcastle. He's had a bothered season. Of course, he lost one of his real stars in Paul Harrigan mid-season. In fact, since 1997, they've lost the bulk of the grand final winning pack. But Warren having to make do with what he's got. It's Hughes now. He's tackled 40 metres away from his own line. 17 is Rahihi. Clinton O'Brien again. Andrew Johns holding it back. McDougall a fan. Then he thought about getting a pass inside, pulled it back. Mark Hughes is there for acting half work. Now Andrew Johns puts a kick back on the right. O'Davis is after it, but South Sydney are there and they force it in goal. Through the number 5, which is Chris Caruana.
A nice tactic there from Andrew Johns and Robbie O'Davis. Johns knew that O'Davis is back on the inside, and a touch of luck, he nearly got there, O'Davis, but in the end, next best thing, they get the ball back from the line dropout.
Newcastle's run home over the last 3 weekends. It's not easy, is it? St George Illawarra, Sydney City at home. That will help, and then of course Auckland away. Further emphasising the importance of this match today, and of course that match next Friday, because they'll be up against an opposition that will be equally desperate. And of course the danger coming out of the ruck is Canberra, who have a relatively easy draw. Matthew Johns to the 10-metre line. Trying to get a quick play of the ball on, but couldn't. Badiris. And Danny Badiris is over the line. Sean Hampstead wants to take a look, but I think he's put it down on the line. And really, if any of these tries have been soft, this is the one that really is. Some of this defence is very ordinary on Badiris.
Yeah, this is tontine stuff. It's just embarrassing almost. Badiris had no right to score this try, and it is a try because he's got that football down on the line. He had control of it, and he's just gone straight through Carroll. Well, hang on, I don't want to go off too soon, but I think there's enough of the ball that's touched the line. Let's have a look at another angle. Carries Rodwell over. This one should be the definitive one. It's a try.
Yeah, there's enough of the ball touching the line, as far as I'm concerned, for the video referee to suggest that it is a try.
You can see the referee there, Hampstead, he's fairly, what, 2 foot away?
Yeah.
But still wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's a good point you make there, Paul.
I mean, if he couldn't see it from that close, video ref's only seeing what we're seeing. He just said, I want to make sure he got the ball on the line. Well, anyway, it's a try. Happy days.
Newcastle's 4th try scored by Danny Badiris.
And their on-line defence today has been diabolical, South Sydney. Got players laying on the ground, markers not working, going different ways, missing tackles. I mean, he got through 5 of them then. Badiris, he wouldn't be more than 13.5 stone. It's a very determined and a very good effort by him.
There's only one marker there, and that was Mark Carroll. He went too early. And then Darryl Trindle comes up with an ordinary attempt.
The General Roberts Hotel in Hampstead with the best Italian restaurant in town.
It's an obvious statement. Geez, he's a good player, this kid, Danny Badiris. And I think that he's got a big future in front of him. He seems to have settled in nicely into the number 9 jersey vacated by Steve Walters. We've seen him play just about everywhere in this Newcastle team, and he's done a job no matter what number he's had on his back.
So Andrew Johns, another converted try. They got the perfect set. 24 points to nil after half an hour of play. Diabolical, I think that probably is the right word to use. The online defence from South Sydney, although I must say letting Badiris in was probably the worst example of it. South's coming here today with a fleeting chance of making the top 8. They play the Roosters next weekend, I should say, then Manly, and then Parramatta. Just looking at this scoreboard, it is a forlorn hope now. 24-0, 4 converted tries, unanswered. And the threat that there's more to come. Andrew Johns got it away. Badiris backs him up. Beautiful pass by Andrew Johns.
I don't want to go too early. I think Badiris falconed himself there, Ray.
Now the kick through. There's a chance for McDougall. McDougall's over for another try. It is a try fest. Newcastle are absolutely on fire. South Sydney cannot answer them. 28-0.
Well, Andrew Johns gets a miraculous pass away. He's almost on the ground here. And Danny Badiris, it's a falcon, all right. There it is. Yeah, just balance it on the head. And he meant to do it too. Don't worry about that.
The falcon of the year, that one.
And then, again, the vision of the kicker is just tremendous here. The call to the left-hand side, they all want it that way. You can see that the south line is all up in one line. And McDougall had the speed to get around the back of both Caruana and Hookie to score the try.
Well, how good are they? I mean, their form, they've been in and out the last month or so. And we saw them up here at the Paul Harrigan testimonial night last Tuesday night. And in talking to them, they're very determined to get back on track, and spoke to Coach Warren Ryan. He said, we'll need a big game against South Sydney on Sunday. And, well, they've turned it all around and, 28-0. But that's a great G-up. I mean, you've got players now falconing themselves just to get on the footy show.
Paul, I sat there on Tuesday night at Paul Harrigan's testimonial just thinking of what effect it might have to the players watching what went on at the end of 97 at the grand final, the images afterwards. We just tended to think it would put them in the right frame of mind, just remembering those great times. And I think they've come here today well and truly prepared to go on with things.
So Andrew Johns with his most difficult kick. I think he's got it. Yes, he has. It's a beauty. 30 points to nil after 32 minutes. And never mind about South Sydney's defence. What about Newcastle's attack? Stephen.
Yeah, how good are they? Badiris meant to do that to get on the Thursday night footy show. But they made 2 breaks in one set of 6 tackles right up the guts of South Sydney. That's where this try came from. They just couldn't number up out wide.
A touch of juggler there from Danny Badiris. Carried it on the forehead for about 3 metres. Beautiful stuff. Butterfield with a handoff, and that pass going to ground, giving South a half a chance from Peden, but it's come down for Newcastle. 4-1 the line breaks. Even that I find hard to believe, but it's true. Lomax now. Half-time, just under 7 minutes away. Craigie, formerly a permanent fixture in the Newcastle backline. He's battled for the job this year. Keeping in mind that Gidley is still out. Davis working with Andrew Johns, then Matthew, then Badiris, and then Lomax. Lomax cuts them out, goes wide. Craigie puts the big set of 5 up in the face of Brasher, but Tim pulls him down 38 metres away from South line. This is the last tackle. Bombs away over Marathon. Down she comes for Craig Wing, and Wing does well, comes away out to the 20-metre line. Good kick return by the South Sydney custodian. Newcastle double the time in opposition territory to that enjoyed by South Sydney. Brasher now. Parsons. Halfway. James Smith. Garlick is back on. And straight to acting half. The last tackle for Trindle's kick. No, he's put it through the hands and gone out to Hookie. Somehow he got a pass away to Caruana, who's put a foot on the line. That'll be a turnover.
It was worth a shot down that short side there. Actually, Caruana's had a pretty fair game today. He's been one of the few South players who's really had a dig. Put on the touch, he thought he was away. But they missed nothing, do they? The blokes in yellow.
Fletcher. Lomax running hard. Everybody wants to have a go. Everybody wants part of it. 19 missed tackles against the Rabbits. Matthew turning it back to the short side. Craigie tries to go through. Now they're fanned out wide across the park. The fullback comes in. The halfback with beautiful hands. Hughes was able to take the pass, but what about Andrew Johns? Now the last. He puts the kick up. South Sydney had it, lost it, got it back in again, and it will be a knock-on against them. Well, what about the hands of Andrew Johns?
He's not alone out there this afternoon, Ray. The handling from all of the Newcastle Knights players has just been quite remarkable. That's the best. But it's an indication of just how much skill work they do up here under Warren Ryan. Tremendous with their hands and also with their feet. They do a lot of drills. Light stepping, quick stepping. We're seeing it in all its glory this afternoon.
McDougall looking for work. Butterfield off on a charge of his own. Hughes taken to ground. Desperate defence by Caruana. Matthew Johns inviting them to come up and tackle him. 10 metres from the line. Rudder on the bounce for Craigie. Simpson's on his inside. Moody's the outside. Quick play the ball and Moody at acting half for Andrew Johns, and then a short ball for McDougall, who flicks it out the back. It went behind and it's with Grief, and back out for Matthew Johns, who puts the kick across, looking for Bill Peaton, who bats it down for South Sydney. And Craig Wing comes up the sideline and goes over that line 10 metres out from his own try line.
Well, South will get the feedback. Referee Hampstead here claiming that there was no advantage given to South Sydney after the Newcastle knock-on. I disagree. I would have thought there was an advantage. They've got the ball. He's run 10 or 12 metres.
Of course there was.
And into touch. So how South's got the feed.
You would think that he knows the rules better than us, but I'm blown if I know how he applied that rule on that occasion. Can't even begin to try and express what he feels.
Well, if Wing steps inside Badiris, then he goes the length of the field. So it was the start of what was potentially an enormous advantage.
Absolutely, Still. I'm not arguing with you or Paul. I'm just trying to think what Sean Hampstead has applied to it. Obviously, he has said that they didn't gain an advantage. I would have thought running 10 metres up the park was some form of an advantage. It's Justin Williams now. Half-time, 1 3/4 minutes away. The pass from South Sydney brought a groan from the Newcastle crowd. They're not happy with 30 points to nothing. They still want an even share of the penalties. Now Nickel pushing it out for Brasher to give it away. James Smith then back for Brasher. Brasher's half into a hole, but Mark Hughes anticipated beautifully. Gullick through and away to the left for Rodwell. Rodwell for O'Neill. O'Neill holding it back and then giving it back for Craig Wing. Wing has Lumens come inside him, but he goes much deeper into the field of play for O'Neill to be tackled on the halfway. Fifth tackle now for the Rabbitohs. Trindle putting a kick down behind Robbie O'Davis. And O'Davis scampering back into the in-goal. Back into the field of play easily and is tackled there by Trindle. McDougall it is. Moody now. Newcastle in a little clump behind the play the ball. Looking very much as though they might have bundied off for half-time, which is just 30 seconds away now. Rudder. This is the last for the Knights. 30 points to 0, 5 unanswered tries. A kick through from Andrew Johns. Mark Carroll got a touch on it. The pass for Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes has got McDougall outside him. He'll stay on his inside. McDougall goes back to him, and Hughes is eventually tackled. A metre from the line. It's not over yet. O'Davis for Andrew Johns, and over they go for Billy Peaton, but it's gone forward. Well, I got to say, the pass way back down the ground to Mark Hughes, I thought was forward, and eventually the final pass here has been ruled that way. It all started here, and it was the pass from Peaton to Mark Hughes that I thought was forward. The back was broken of South Sydney. McDougall, Hughes, his run is snuffed out, almost in touch with the try line, and then he's ruled that that pass was forward, which I found rather hard to believe. Billy Peden feels cheated of his second try, but the scoreboard is there, 30 points to 0, no try for the Newcastle Knights on half-time. We'll take a break and be back, hoping that South Sydney can do something to get back into the game in the second half. 30 points to 0, and Sean Hampstead is ready for the second half. For Robbie O'Davis to unload and Bill Peden to bring it back. Scored one of the 5 tries. And many of us thought he was entitled to his second try just prior to the half-time siren. Owen Craigie now. Newcastle bring it away on the first set of 6. Trimble coming out of that attempted tackle gingerly.
And leaves the field.
Andrew Johns with this kick down to complete their first set in the new half, and Craig Wing, probably the player that has worried the most when South have had the football is Craig Wing. Some of his returns have been quite outstanding. Garlick now on the halfway line. And Steve Roach is back from the sheds. He's on the sideline now.
Yeah, I got the Chief with me. Chief, well, I suppose they wouldn't have wanted a half-time break. They're in the mood today, aren't they, Newcastle?
Yeah, they certainly are, without a doubt. South, when we played at the start of the season, give us a bit of a touch-up. And that was basically our motivation for the week, not last week's loss against the Broncos. So they started off well. They were 3 and 4s in tackles. The first 5 minutes really dominated. And as you can tell, Warren just wants to do the same again. He was just worried that we're going to let down and let our defence. Here goes Robbie O right now.
Yes, he left above the pack, and it was a very good tackle by Tim Brasher to shut him down.
Would you notice anything during the week, mate? A good build-up to you blokes? So obviously you're not on Tuesday night would have motivated them?
Well, I suppose so. All the boys were together, which is always a good thing. But as I just said before, all week, actually for a long, long time, we've been talking about playing South again. And the forwards got criticised a little bit for their performance in that match, and they're certainly making up for it now.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Ray's going to stay with us for 15 or 20 minutes. I'll just do South quickly. Craig Coleman, he said it's all about defence. And he said it'll show a little bit of ticker and a little bit of spirit. He's very disappointed in that area of their game. He said you've got to go at them in defence. Don't just watch them. He said aim up on their dummy half runners. They're carving us up there. He said get up off the ground after you make a tackle.
Okay, thank you for that, Stephen, and we'll get back to the Chief in just a moment to involve him in the commentary as he is part of the team. And I'll be interested to know whether or not they've talked about the predicament of the fact that they may miss the top 8. It hasn't been a factor, but it certainly has become that way in the last couple of weeks. Here's Danny Badiris, 10 metres out from the line, having a fine game. For Peden now to go across for Matthew Johns, and now for Rudder away for Craigie, and Craigie looking to get rid of it, pulled down a couple of metres out from the line. A charge from dummy half, and he looks to have been held up in goal. He has. So the scrum will pack about 10 metres away, and the advantage will go with Newcastle.
Yeah, good leg drive there from Sean Rudder. That's not a bad ploy. Still about 3rd or 4th tackle. He knows if he gets held up, they'll get another set of 6. So he just kept driving. It didn't matter if he got the ball down or not.
Matthew John standing very, very wide, and Hughes was tackled about 7 metres out from the South Sydney line. South Sydney well inside the 5 at that scrum. Now Bill Peden takes it to ground right in the centre. Davis positions himself over to the right, outside Andrew Johns. Johns runs at the line and puts it over. Well, this has now become more than embarrassing. Andrew Johns just simply put the foot down and ran through them.
Well, I don't know what more you can say about this player and this defence. You can just see on the outside, I think it was Matt Parsons moved up too quickly. Player on the inside didn't get to Johns. And it's just too simple. In Matt Parsons' defence, he did slip a little bit. A pretty innocuous attempt there from Jason Nichol as well.
Now, all those South players, when they ran up off the line, looking at the players in front of them rather than the man with the football. You've still got to concentrate on him because he's the most important player on the field. So Andrew Johns just went whooshka straight through the gap as it was presented to him. He's back to his best today, and he's probably still only about 75-80% fit.
And he's now scored 20 points in 45 minutes. Well, this is assuming this one goes over, which I am.
Try number 6 is on the board. And his goal kicking has been without flaw. Remains that way, and we love you, Joey. 36 points to 0, the Knights over the Rabbits. Julian O'Neill bringing it back. For the monotony of restarting this game again. Paul Harrigan's on the sideline. Paul, you know Andrew Johns very, very well. How much trouble is he really in with that injury?
Well, this week the groin has improved a fair bit. He was worried last week, and obviously by his performance, he was hampered by it. But this week, the last 2 days, he's trained in fully. He's playing and trained really good. And today, as you can tell, there's no real problem with it. He's probably had one of his best games in a long, long time.
Nobody doubts his courage, Paul. I mean, coming into the 97 grand final, he had a punctured lung and still managed to play. So, I mean, the fact that he opted against the knife on this occasion wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah, Rabs, that's why he is one of the best players, because apart from his skill and his kicking game and his defence, he's a very, very tough man. He comes from a good stock. Mark Curry there, Cessnock, with his old man, was a tough guy, and so are both the Johns boys. They're very tough boys.
Just one other thing, Paul, I alluded to. How much discussion has been about the fact that you are in the danger zone of missing the top 8?
Yeah, you did. I'll tell you what, it was a big head clash just then, but you're right. Motivation for us has been that loss last week to play South Sydney, because they beat us pretty well at the start of the season. But to tell you the truth, we've got to win at least 2 or 3 out of the next 4 games. And for us to even think about it, it's been very hard. That's a heavy clash, that one.
Clinton O'Brien and Craig Wing. Clash of heads, and Craig is being escorted from the ground. And so too is Clinton now. They've both got forehead or scalp wounds. And Souths to restart just outside their 20-metre line. Wing and O'Brien both to the blood bin. With Matt Parsons now trying to do something, getting the ball away along the ground for Julian O'Neill. Putting it out the back for Brasher. And this is Jeremy Schloss. O'Neill again. And Richards. Garlick cutting out Iro, picking up Rodwell, now Lumen. He steps back inside and play on the halfway line as Garlick tries to get something going. Rubin is there to help him, busting one tackle and pulled down just inside the Knights' 30-metre line. On the last now, Trindle getting it away. O'Neill puts a kick in. O'Davis, though, leads the race easily, and the ball leads the procession to the dead ball line. Nichol getting some patch-up work done on that left hand.
Steve Roach made the point that Warren Ryan said to his team that he didn't want them to relax. He'll be ecstatic that this game is, well, it's won, but he'll also be very keen for them to maintain a good for and against. This end of the season, that could be all important. If you can come up with a 30, 40-point victory, it could be crucial as Moody finds himself in a bit of space, steps back inside, beats 2 and 3 and still makes the halfway line.
Owen Craigie to acting halfback. Andrew Johns and the pass right onto the chest of Rudder, who unloads. Carroll scoops it up, passes from the ground, not tackled. And South Sydney in possession on their own 40-metre line with Hookie playing the ball. Now Carroll. Steve Roach on the sideline, a comment.
Well, Daryl Trindle's out there playing under sufferance. He's got a sternum problem. He shouldn't be out there, but he is. So let's hope that he can get through the game.
Wayne Richards.
No, leave it. Leave the ball. Let him up. Roll out of the ruck. That's it.
O'Neill then, looking for Brasher. Brasher's there, but so too is Danny Badiris. One of the great sights in rugby league has been Tim Brasher coming in from behind the teams that he's played for in the #1 shirt. Probably nothing more exciting to watch in rugby league, really. And he's these days being forced to play in the centres for South Sydney. Simpson. Put down the driving tackle by Schloss. And now it's Matthew trying to promote something for Sean Rudder, and Rudder is put away. He's had a strong game, the #12 for Newcastle. Not hard to find outstanding players, but he's been quite good as Newcastle gets a penalty. Sean Garlick blows up. But Newcastle will find the line with a kick off their own 30-metre line.
The referee claimed here that Sean Garlick did not need to step over the man looking to play the football, and he's right. He had two options. He could have walked around him or he could have stepped over him. The referee wanted the former.
Andrew Johns then, pushing it along the line. Matthew with a lofted pass taken by Craigie. Craigie is taken by Lumans. He gets away from him. Rodwell pulls him down. 5 for the penalties then in favour of the home side as Butterfield takes them on up the middle. Andrew Johns just leaning down, taking in what was a difficult pass, but he seemed to make it look easy. Rahihi was involved in that previous play, and now Matthew puts it out the back for Butterfield to loft a pass over for Andrew Johns to go through a gap. He's inside the 20, he's come to the 10, up comes O'Davis, and Robbie takes the plaudits. Robbie O'Davis goes in for try #2, but even that try has got Andrew Johns written right across it.
Yeah, Joey Johns, he's having all sorts of trouble with that groin. It's a major problem for him. He just steps through again. Tony Butterfield takes the pass from Matthew Johns. Butts cuts out 3 players, and Johns just puts the big step on Tony Iro. Draws Tim Brasher. Robbie O'Davis gets another one.
Yeah, it's like stealing lead-off blind chooks today for the Newcastle Knights. It's all too easy for them. The South defence, it's all over the place. Big left foot step. Thought he was going to do it again on Tim Brasher, but I think once he saw it was Tim Brasher, what a great defensive player he is, he waited for some support, and there it came from Robbie O.
Just the young players at home. You could see there when Andrew Johns realised Tim Brasher was coming across, as the boys celebrate. They started that when Matthew Johns his wife had a child a couple of weeks back. That's the new celebration trademark.
Rockabye your baby.
That's the one.
We will take a break. Oh, this has turned into a massive defeat for Souths. 42 points to 0 now. 42-0 the score. As we come back to Marathon and the crowd, none of them leaving. They're loving it. It's not something that you enjoy watching if you're a rugby league purist, I suppose. But 42-0, the Newcastle fans, they don't seem to mind. Not one iota. Andrew Johns, by the way, has scored in this match 22 points. He holds the club record for the most number of points at 23, which he set in 1994 as a penalty goes to South. And that was his first run-on game, and who do you think it was against? South Sydney. So Andrew Johns today will break his record, one would think, for the most number of points scored in a game by a Newcastle Knight. He's 1 point adrift of his record at 23 as we speak, and we've got something like 27 minutes of football remaining. But right now it's Souths with an opportunity. Limited as they have been. Can they do something? James Smith. And this is the part of the game that Warren Ryan will be watching probably more intently than up the other end. Holding that line. Muscling up in defence, even when the game has been won. Good practice for the future. Pass was forward. Hampstead right on top of it. I'm a little surprised he didn't give a penalty.
He's tried hard today, Julian O'Neill. He has tended to pass the ball too much, though. Sometimes a player like Julian tends to underestimate his own ability to run the football. That's why he doesn't run as much as he should.
The NRL, Penrith 14, Lee Parramatta 10.
Moody now. Glenn Grief. McDougall. Gritty run by McDougall, not over either as far as Newcastle concerned. Andrews in there again, lofted pass, finding Moody, and a foot race between him and Trindle was Moody tackled eventually by Lumen. Badeiras, Trindle had to back off, he was inside the 10. 22 metres away from the Rabbits line. Matthew Johns wide for Mark Hughes. Now McDougall back on the inside throw Davis. He puts it back on the ground and Hampstead rules that it went forward.
Well, this is reminiscent of Canberra back in their golden years when they could get the football from one side of the field better than anybody else and quicker. And that pass there from Robbie Davis is ruled to have gone forward. If it hadn't have been, Matthew Johns crosses.
Paul Harrigan in a sticky situation. Come semi-final time. Newcastle are there and they're short. They're short on. Is there any chance that you could come back?
Rabs, what a question. No, I don't think so. I've thought about it a few times before, but I just think our forwards are going really well at the moment. We've been criticised, they've been a little bit small, but they've certainly put their hands up today. And to tell you the truth, I'm a little bit stunned. It's been a top performance, and I can guarantee you, Rabs, it won't be there around semi-final time, mate.
All right. Okay.
Just on that knee, Paul, has it got any better since you've retired?
Yeah, without a doubt it has. Obviously, just the fact that I'm not playing and not training, it's a lot better. And I've had that gel injection, which I have, and I know that you've had it too, has helped considerably.
Hughes angling it in for McDougall.
Call knock on.
Paul Harrigan on the sideline, and we thank him for his input this afternoon. He's been down there for about 20 minutes doing it tough, I guess, but not so tough today when you look up at that scoreboard. 42 points to 0. Newcastle just putting in some kilometres now in preparation for next Friday, which is going to be one very, very important game. Parsons.
Well, if that game's important next Friday night, you can imagine, and I think it's 3 weeks' time here, Ray, and their last game of the season against the Roosters, which we'll be covering. That's next Friday night. That should be an absolute beauty. And, to come here in 3 weeks' time, they won't fit them all in. There's nearly 22,000 here today. A great finale to Marathon Stadium for the year.
O'Neill still trying down the right of the ground. Clinton O'Brien back with his head bandaged after that head clash with Craig Wing earlier on. And now Robbo Davis. Well done by Caruana. He showed him the sideline, invited him down there, and then put him across it. He's a very strong little fella, Chris Caruana. A little bit of an advantage here for South Sydney.
You've got to say it was poor play from Robbie Davis to go to the danger side, which was the one close to the sideline.
Confidence run astray, I think is the way to describe it. And it's as high as his. You can almost think of yourself doing anything, I suppose. This is hooky now. 12 metres away from the Newcastle line. Brash is the acting half. And now Parsons takes it ahead. Newcastle proud, I would imagine, to defend their line as Garlick uses Iro. Iro still a couple of metres from the line, and they're coming in 2s and 3s. Newcastle trying to protect that line of theirs. James Smith. The ball goes to ground and Newcastle with it through Badeiras.
He tried to pass it.
Hampstead just reassuring players that he tried to pass it. It wasn't raked out. And Andrew Johns plays it as McDougall opposite back to them. Fended up just in the nick of time. Rahihi. Time in possession. Very much on the side of Newcastle. Hughes.
That's the best decoy run I've ever seen.
Andrew Johns. Lomax.
Look at this for a decoy. Still thought he had it, Ben Grief.
Ball spinning away down to the sideline on the western side. With Brasher back at fullback at the moment. And the scrum will go 20 metres in and 20 metres out from the South Sydney line.
Very, very close here to a 40-20. See the ball rolling down towards the 20-metre line, and it misses by 2-3 metres.
Don't forget the big golf comes back to Channel 9 again next Friday morning at 3 a.m. from Illinois, the US PGA Open. It was Tiger Woods and Greg Norman, David Duval, Vijay Singh, Stuart Appleby. 3 a.m. next Friday, the first day of coverage on the 9 network. Brasher. Parsons now. Craig Wing coming back from the patchwork done on the scalp wound that he suffered in that head clash with Clinton O'Brien. Now Julian O'Neill. Eventually rounded up by Rahihi. And then O'Neill gets up and loses the ball. He points at Rahihi. But referee Hampstead said you lost it of your own accord and has ordered a scrum. Well, let's see, has Julian got a case? I think he might have got some help from Rahihi's left knee. That's what he was blowing up about.
Yeah, but I don't think the big interchange player played out the football. I think they were just still disentangling themselves. McDougall picks up some good metres again. He's really returned to form this afternoon, being at his blockbusting best.
Andrew Johns, just a couple of paces before unloading, and then from Badira's finding Craigie. Craigie looked at his outside. Moody had already gone onto the inside to be tackled. 5 metres away from the line. They're waving out on the left of the ground. And it's Matthew Johns for Andrew. Then a short ball to the ground, and Souths have got it. O'Neill coming outside the 20-metre line. Well, they were lined up like Jets leaving mascot, the Knights. It was just a matter of who was going to score the try. Iro in for Wing. Parsons. Ball lost. And a scramble pack just on the Newcastle side of halfway.
That's a shame for Matt Parsons, because my word, he's tried hard today. Like he did last week against the Dragons, he's kept taking the ball up hard and strong all day. The strong defence, though, and I think that's what would impress Coach Warren Ryan, sitting in the coach's box right now the most today. Craig Coleman wouldn't be impressed by too much. But the Wok will be sitting in his box knowing they're going to win the game very comfortably, but heading into the semis, looking for, the strong defence to continue. Matt Parsons, I mentioned his strong game today. He leads the hit-ups in the whole of the NRL with 380. Well done, Matty. Had a good season.
Play by Lomax now. Badira looking for somebody to accept his pass. So Davis eventually with it and takes a hammering from a couple of the South Sydney forwards. 28 missed tackles for South Sydney. Rahihi. Grief. Dogged by injury, Glenn Grief. Injury-free at the moment, which is some good news for Newcastle. Andrew with a little kick. He's looking for the regather. The bounce is important. Oh, he puts a bat on it. Now Craigie puts it inside. Matthew puts it outside. Craigie puts the ball over the shoulder. Then a flick pass. Have a look at this for Razzle Dazzle. Now Andrew puts a kick across. They're going to score. They're going to put it down. They are going to score. That is a miraculous try. That is beautiful. That is entertainment. Forget about the scoreboard. Have a look at them now. The entertainers. Well, rock-a-bye, baby. Rock-a-bye, baby.
Last tackle here. He's playing handball. Andrew Johnson. Owen Craigie's been good this arvo. Haven't seen much of him in first grade the last couple of months, and it's just flick passes, kicks. Let's see what we can do. That one just over the head of Hookie. Well, he can't believe it. He was 50 metres away from all the razzle-dazzle.
This is the start of it. The bat down. I'm trying to count the number of hands. I think it's up to 5 at the moment. There's 6. Now 7. Well, yeah, 7, and then this will complete it. Only 8 sets of hands, but just some unbelievable rugby league.
Well, imagine being Warren Ryan. He must sit in the box, watch this, and just even marvel at what he's seeing in front of him. Incredible stuff from these very talented lads.
That is a record for Andrew Johns. Most number of points by a night in the history of the club. He's broken his own record by converting the try. 48 points to nil. Good luck to you boys. 65 gone. Almost to the half century. Newcastle on a point scoring spree, and their record winning margin is 44 points. 50-6 against the Gold Coast in 1993 and 44-0 over the South Queensland Crushers in 1997. So they have broken that record. 48 points in front of the moment. They've got that record in their sights, and Andrew Johns has set a personal record for the most number of points in a game. Daryl Trindle's been plagued by that sternum injury. He's been taken from the field, I'd say, for the last time now, as Matthew Johns is put away by Jason Nichol. 5 tackles gone now for the Knights. And the crowd begging for more. More of the same as Andrew Johns puts a kick up, and Craig Wing, he's been beautiful back there today. They've put him under some pressure occasionally, and he's responded just like the young player that we've come to know has got great potential. Lumans is tackled just inside the 20-metre line. And now for Ian Rubin. Copybook tackle by Glenn Grief, and now Mark Carroll almost out, as you can see, to their 40-metre line. Play on the western side of the ground as Iro joins in some close combat down a narrow corridor to find Brett Rondell put over the sideline. This will turn the advantage back with Newcastle. Really tried to put something together where the personnel was simply one-on-one. All that had to be done was to mark your man, and there was no way that South were going down there. 12.5 minutes of the game remaining. And 48 points to nil the score. Grasher on Matthew Johns.
Well, we've pointed out in the last couple of weeks that South Sydney coach Craig Coleman believed that 30 points would be enough to make the top 8. Come September, I'm sure that would prove to be wrong. Closer to 33, 34 points, and today's loss, well, that is South Sydney definitely gone for the season. Probably been the case for the last week or two, but there's no way back after this loss. What an important one for Newcastle, both with the 2 competition points and so far the 48 points in the 4 column.
Andrews kick ahead, and Lumans marking it back at the end goal. He would have been taken out to the 20-metre line for the restart.
Well, the referee called that he just took it in the field of play.
For an appointment, give Leach's line at the call. Andrew Johns has left the field for Newcastle.
Joey Johns has just been given a big round of applause by the Newcastle crowd. He's broken his personal record of most number of points in a game, and now he's been taken from the field by his coach, Warren Ryan. Fifth tackle for South, and they're on their own 20-metre line as O'Neill puts the kick in for Robbie O'Davis. The confidence has become, if you like, cockiness more than confidence now. Glenn Griefner. Out the back for O'Davis. Living up in amongst the play, living close to the football. Previous record for Andrew was 23 points. It's now 24, and he's got that record before he was taken from the field, or told to take a rest, basically. This is Lomax now on tackle 5. The Knights looking for another. Matthew Johns puts the kick over and across, and did he get it down? Did he get it down on the far side of the ground? It's Mark Hughes. Sean Hampstead has got no doubt, pointing to the spot, and Newcastle have cracked the half-century.
Yeah, so Andrew Johns gets on the sideline, has a rest, and Matthew takes over. Little kick, just, that's amazing play for Caruana. Did not even watch the football. He's had a good game, and did Mark Hughes ground the football properly?
Yeah, there's a bit of doubt about that, Paul. And you're right about Chris Caruana. Like, it had to be a try because he was just setting himself to make a tackle, and the tackle was always going to be made over the try line. I think that shot does show that Mark Hughes does get the football down fairly. Yeah, that's no problems at all.
Yeah, but Chris Caruana's very, very experienced. He almost invited him to, you catch it, I'll try and tackle you.
Joey Johns riding this mount right to the line, getting every ounce out of his steam. Mark Hughes, second try of the game for him. 9 minutes to go, and it's 52 points to 0 in favour of the Knights over the Rabbits. Owen Craigie takes over the goal-kicking duties from the sideline, 21 metres out. I think he's got it. Oh, he has! It's a golden day for the Knights. 54-0 block out. Everything's happening for them.
Oh, they're sensations, aren't they? They can put the ball on a 5-cent piece. Matthew Johns this time. Great play there from Hughes. And what about the kick? Craigie. And have a look at him after. I don't know what it is, a goose step or a hop or whatever, but he does a little dance for the crowd. Whoa!
Looks like Rabbit's normal walk.
Owen Craigie, sponsored by Peach Advertising for advertising that works at Peach.
Butterfield now. Peden with a break. Rudder supports. Hughes comes inside. And they're 5 metres into Rabbits territory again. Still there's 8 minutes to go. Away from Lomax. Across to Matthew Johns on the halfway line. He puts the kick up. Lumens goes back, cleans it up for the Rabbits, and then is put down by Owen Craigie. Craig Wing. Lee Hookey now. Caruana. The statisticians are just looking through the records. We've already got that personal record from 1994 broken today by the player that held it, Andrew Johns. Lumens taking it away from the western touchline. Tackle number 5. And this will be the biggest winning margin by a Newcastle side ever. Iro with a little break. Jeremy Schloss putting it on the boot, and a very confident Robbo Davis knocking on.
Oh, Souths haven't given up, have they? Their defence has been very ordinary today, but they're still trying hard. A nice bust made, put on the toe, and a touch of overconfidence there from Robbie O.
Ice on that groin area for Andrew. Which would be the more painful, the injury or the ice?
Or something else in there. Look at him, he loves it. Playing up to the crowd, he's on the big screen.
South then, 5 metres away from the line. Are they going to break that line for once today? Wing in at first receiver with no Trindle there now. Iro passing for Rodwell. Now for Lumen. Lumen's back in for Brasher, but there's been a forward pass foul. Well, Hampstead will pack a scrum 20 metres away from the Newcastle line, and it was this pass here that was forward from Iro to Rodwell. 21,820 here today to see a record-breaking performance by Newcastle, and South Sydney's record against them at Marathon doesn't look any better, does it? Once from 10 attempts, 1 from 10 they've won here at Marathon in the history of South v Newcastle. This is Fletcher now. First division today was also a win to Newcastle. They defeated South Sydney in a closer contest, 34 points to 28. 34-28, the Knights over the Rabbitohs. Here's Matthew fending away one, holding off a second, picking up O'Davis, and O'Davis will play with him. 45 metres away from the South Sydney line. Clinton O'Brien was strong early in the game when we had some kind of a contest. To the blind side they come for Matthew Johns to go back into the middle. Bill Beaton, then back and away for Danny Badiris. A flick pass then for Owen Craigie. Craigie kicks out for Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes is thinking about number 3. Bats the ball down for Rudder, but he's in front of him. Ball went forward. Well, they are just absolutely frolicking in the park today. We are here watching the Dolphins at play. So high is their confidence, they're trying everything they've ever worked on. You don't know whether to marvel at something like this or feel disappointed for the team on the end of it.
Oh, it's been fantastic. It's been a great day. I mean, South, as I said, they've kept trying, but, you know, for all the people in television land and the people here, no one's left because they're watching a great rugby league side in action. And with this side today, who knows what will come next?
Solid defence there from Rahihi and Butterfield. South didn't need this, but Newcastle certainly did. They were coming off that loss to Brisbane, which would have deflated them a bit last weekend. This will help their confidence as Brasher puts the kick down the ground. Then leads the chase. Everybody's onside. And Brasher digging deep to find some enthusiasm. O'Davis running it back.
Well, it's been good for them because days like today, you see players run into form, don't you? And the Johns boys have come back to their best. Mark Hughes, Owen Craigie, Robbie O, all playing great football. You look at the side they've got out there today. It is the team that will go into the semi-finals. They've only got Matthew Gidley to return. So, you know, Warren and I would be ecstatic with this performance, and so would the players.
Paul, I think even more importantly, the blokes up front have got the job done. There's never been any doubt about those players that you mentioned having the ability and the confidence to do what we've seen this afternoon. But I think guys like Rudder, Fletcher, certainly Badiris has been outstanding. They'll be the key players in the coming weeks to set the platform for this class back line.
I think that's the area. Beautiful pass by Rahihi. It didn't help Jason Moody, I suppose, in his endeavours to stay in the field of play, but it was still a good pass from Rahihi. Blocker, that's the area that you fancy might come back to haunt Newcastle. Today there's been some good signs, though. We're talking about the Pigs and their aggression.
Yeah, well, as Paul Harrigan said, they've been very strong today, but, mate, I've got to say the opposition hasn't been that strong. They've been poor, haven't they? Especially around the ground at marker. They've had plenty of luck running from dummy half, and that's where it all started. The Newcastle Knights, they just really paved the way early in the match.
Hookie getting a pass away. Brasher coming back, evading players before giving it to O'Neill. O'Neill across the park for Slot, and he's pulled down by Craigie. Just a minute and 20 seconds to go. 34 missed tackles now for the Rabbits as big Ian Rubin puts on a step in the middle of the park. A minute and a quarter really for Newcastle to defend their try line, and that will be exactly what they're going to do now, because Moody plays it, and barring some errors, or barring an error, they will play the game out, with that being the first tackle. The previous was the 0. Butterfield floating it, Matthew giving it, Rudder's with the ball, and Rudder is tackled on the halfway line. 40 seconds of this history-breaking match for Newcastle to go. The biggest winning margin by a Newcastle side in their short history. And a personal record of points for Andrew Johns in this game today, breaking his own record. Moody on the outside, picking up Craigie, who has to do the hurdle, then tries to bump them away. He'll be held 10 metres away from the line. 15 seconds out from full time. Badira's for Matthew Johns. Puts in the kick. Mark Hughes will score. Mark Hughes gets number 3. A perfect kick by Matthew Johns. It is try number 10 for Newcastle. 58-0 with a kick to come. And a very pleased Newcastle side, no doubt.
We know that Newcastle have the best record scoring tries off kicks, but it's been oh so easy. Look at the South Sydney defence. The winger is about 20 metres infield. The Sydney Swans could have done with this last night, the precision of the kicking game this afternoon for the Knights. And Matthew Johns, well, he's just been absolutely wonderful, but that's... Mark Hughes must be almost embarrassed to get that one.
Well, the kick is alive and well, the short kick in rugby league, and they scored, what, must be 3 or 4 tries from this tactic today. And Mark Hughes, I think that's his 3rd for the day. He's had a picnic out there.
We'd like to request upon leaving the stadium to do so in a quiet and orderly manner.
And Joey Johns, here goes the ice bags. To hell with the groin and to hell with the ice bag.
And we also remind patrons it is an offence to remove alcohol.
Tremendous day, enjoyed here by the Newcastle fans and by the players. And that's something they have in common. The fans and the players, they really enjoy their rugby league. Their record win over Souths was 30-0 back in 1997. They have doubled that with a 60-0 thrashing of the great South Sydney club here today in front of almost 22,000 people. 60-0 as we break. We're back soon with Blocker and the $1,000 man of the match at Marathon.
Marathon this afternoon under some pressure. They've answered that in style. A big win over South Sydney, 60-0, with Andrew Johns and O'Davis getting a double. Peden, Badiris and McDougall all crossed. Hughes a hat-trick. Johns and Craigie did not miss with the boot. The Rabbitohs failed to bother the scorer. And man of the match today, and it is no great surprise, $1,000 richer is Andrew Johns, the halfback for the Knights. Just a perfect display from him. A club record of 24 points. That broke his own record of 23. Featured in every aspect of play. In fact, he came off with 10 minutes to go. He was just absolutely superb, but so was the whole team, Paul.
Yeah, it was a real day out today for the Newcastle Knights, but they needed this win after last week's loss to Brisbane. This will give them the confidence now for the remaining 3 weeks of the competition and then into the semi-finals. Every player played well, and Warren Ryan must be really happy.
2 other games played today, and the Parramatta Eels snuck home over the Panthers. They kicked a field goal in the last 2 minutes to win 17-16, and at Brookvale, Manly way too good for Balmain, 44-14. So at the end of round 23, the Eels on top with the Sharks. The Eels there with their for and against, superior to the Sharks. The Storm, the Roosters and Bulldogs, 32 points. Newcastle up to 6th. St George down to 7th. Brisbane make up the top 8. And Canberra, they are still close enough. They have the bye next week, so they will definitely go to 29 points. Don't forget on Thursday night, the footy show at 9:30 p.m. with Paul, Blocker and myself. And then Friday morning, round 1 at 3 a.m. of the USPGA Open from Medina in Illinois. All the great players in the world playing there. And then Friday night, this is so important at the Sydney Football Stadium. 7th place St George Illawarra take on Newcastle, they're 6th. You'll see that at 8:30 p.m. And then on Sunday, we're out to Brookvale. Can the Brisbane Juggernaut continue? They take on Manly in that round 24 clash. But a perfect afternoon for Newcastle this afternoon. 60-0 over South Sydney. We hope you've enjoyed the telecast. Until we do it next time, on behalf of the Channel 9 crew from Marathon, we wish you a very good night.
This has been a presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.